What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're moving away from Heresy just a little bit in this video to talk about Frontiers and the Apollo expansion, which is set to be the first of the 2 expansions Bungie have outlined as part of that Frontiers codename, and it's the one that's due to drop in summer of 2025. Funnily though, conversation about the release date and speculation around it has certainly kicked off in the community once again. That's why I'm making this video really, as of course we don't have an official release date for Frontiers yet, although there was an indication, or what players assume to be an indication of a Frontiers release date when episode Heresy actually dropped. So let's talk about it a little bit. Bungie Leaks shared this right here. When Heresy dropped, it said on the season pass that it would be 161 days in length, which takes us up to July 15th of 2025. And of course that would be not only perhaps a little bit later for a Frontiers drop or an Apollo expansion drop than what the community was hoping for or expecting, but it would also mean that Heresy is going to be the longest episode of the year. And so it sparked a lot of speculation as to whether that date was correct, whether it could have been a placeholder. And interestingly, after players had discovered that, Bungie actually went in and took that count away. So the season pass now doesn't outline how long episode Heresy is actually supposed to be. It's an interesting one though, because when Bungie spoke about codename Frontiers for the first time, they said the plan was to have an expansion every 6 months. So the first one is Apollo, slated for summer 2025. And the idea is that 6 months later, the next expansion will drop. And this is from Bungie's official roadmap as well. But winter 2025 pretty much refers to December, I assume, right? It doesn't say winter 2026. So it's a relatively short window of time, and if there's supposed to be 6 months between the expansions, that would more or less dictate that Apollo would actually have to drop in June. Otherwise, we'd end up with a shorter gap than what Bungie had outlined between the 2 expansions, or it would indeed mean that the second expansion actually gets pushed out into 2026. And so while we may be getting ahead of ourselves just a little bit, in one sense at least, it sparked a lot of conversation in the community around when the Frontiers Apollo release date will actually be. And alongside that speculation is further speculation that perhaps we're going to see an expansion delay for Frontiers. Now we should keep in mind, summer, according to that roadmap, of course could be any time between June and September really. However, at the same time, if we were to get the expansion after June, whether it's July or August or even later than that, it moves Bungie's entire timeline, the one that they've outlined in that roadmap, back. And the simple answer for the moment is that we just don't know. As for whether a delay is a possibility, well, of course we know that it is, as pretty much every expansion in the past few years has seen some kind of delay, and as a result of that we've had extended seasons, like Season of Arrivals, which was pretty much 6 months, right? Maybe a bit more than that. And then we've had other releases where Bungie have kind of plugged the gap with another content drop. The 30th anniversary, I think, was one of them. And most recently, Into the Light was a free content drop to fill the gap after the final shape was delayed. So in that sense, it's entirely possible that Frontiers could be pushed back, more specifically the Apollo expansion, but of course that affects the entire timeline. Otherwise, the only things that we know about Bungie's progress on Frontiers is that in the end of year update for 2024, Bungie had said the new destination for Apollo is content complete, and that means we're focused on polishing the non-linear campaign, Metroidvania gameplay experience, and developing the finer details of the world, as well as fleshing out numerous quests that you'll discover through your journey. But they also indicated that the core game portal activities, modifiers, and next generation gear is coming online and we're playtesting every week. Plus, they'd said that they have multiple summits planned in the coming months with members of the Destiny community, and were hiring a handful of gameplay specialist positions to test the new progression and gameplay system. So the initial indication, with the destination being content complete, is that yes, perhaps Bungie are indeed on time. However, until Bungie further clarify this, it will remain pure speculation, really. So what will happen if Frontiers does see a somewhat significant delay, more than a couple of months? Well, at that point, it seems possible that we could see another Into the Light style update at some point, perhaps around the spring of 2025. I guess another interesting factor here is that Bungie have made the choice to make the second act of Heresy the shortest that we've ever seen. It's only going to be 3 weeks long. And I guess if you knew that a delay was coming, you might opt to at least make it a week or 2 longer. That could support the theory that maybe things are kind of still on time. There are other components in Heresy which will link with Frontiers though, of course. Bungie have said that this is the sort of narrative setup for what will happen in this next saga. And on a more practical level, we know that there is a potential No Land Beyond reprise happening, as a version of the weapon called New Land Beyond has been found in the game, and there is speculation, could that be a Frontiers pre-order bonus of some sort, especially given that we know we're going to be leaving the solar system and this weapon is called New Land Beyond. Certainly could be a correlation there. And if that is the case, it would at least indicate that Bungie will definitely give us an actual release date for Apollo before the end of Heresy. Of course, it wouldn't make much sense to not do that, but otherwise, before Heresy, Bungie had said that they were going to go quiet on the Frontiers front for perhaps an extended period of time while they continue to actually focus on making the game good. There is also a quality question here. A lot of the best expansions that we've had have been the ones that have had reasonably significant delays. So it raises a question for us as a community. Would we be prepared to have a delay ahead of the next expansion if it means that Bungie can significantly improve the content offering? Obviously not ideal for someone like me who is a full-time Destiny content creator, but equally if it improves the longevity of the game, both as a player and someone who covers the game, I'd say it would probably be worth it. There's a separate side to all of that though. On the business side, of course, Bungie have delayed many releases, and we know there's a lot of pressure from Sony currently, so we don't really know what implications there could be for Bungie if they have to push these content drops out even further. It certainly can't be ideal, right? So we're at quite an interesting point in time, also because we're waiting to hear more about Marathon, and there have been some leaks recently which indicate there is a Marathon-themed Sparrow hidden in the game files, which again, like the New Land Beyond, there's speculation that could be a pre-order bonus, this time for Marathon itself. And if that's the case, and it's in the game right now, or it's in the game files, it means Bungie are getting reasonably close to something like that happening. So, on top of the revelations we've had in the past couple of years, Bungie's struggles and layoffs, even things like Destiny Rising being thrown into the mix, a brand new content medal for Destiny, potential further delays there, but also the potential that the Destiny expansions could be announced or released in 2025, as well as a pre-order for Marathon happening, and whatever potential release date that has. We're kind of in unprecedented times, really, and that's why it is an interesting conversation. The thing I am hoping that Bungie will do in the reasonably near future is give us an indication of, at the very least, whether Frontiers is kind of still expected to drop roughly in the timeline that Bungie have outlined, or whether there could be a more significant delay once again. They probably wouldn't want to speak about that immediately in the new year and right before a new episode for Destiny, given player sentiment at the moment. So it does potentially mean we could be looking at hearing more about this from Bungie, perhaps in a few weeks' time once the initial launch of Heresy is kind of calmed down. So really, that's the purpose of the video today, guys. Kind of a discussion piece, really, bringing you up to date on what the indications we have are about future content, the connection between what's happening now and Frontiers itself, and to get a general sense about how players feel for Frontiers, what's the expectation, and does a change in that content timeline evoke good or bad vibes? You'll have to give me your thoughts down below. So there we go, guys. Quick, interesting discussion, I suppose. Do feel free to share your thoughts. If you've enjoyed the video, or found it interesting at least, a rating below really does help us out. And if you want to keep up to date with all of those announcements when we do get them, then hit subscribe on the channel as well. But otherwise, cheers for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon.